Today, on the Underworld Files, we have the audio from the internal investigation that was launched after a traffic stop involving a gentleman getting basically a cavity search on the side of the road. Please let us know if you think the officer was sorry for his actions in any way. Viewer discretion is advised.
On March 12, 2019, a Marvin Passawi responded to the police department and spoke to Sergeant Moon in regards to a traffic stop involving you, Officer Rhodes, and Officer Baez. Are you familiar with that stop?
I am.
All right. His allegation is that he was stopped for the tint, and that he was told that the car smelled like marijuana, and he was handcuffed, pulled from the vehicle, and you searched him with gloves on, but stuck your finger in his rectum, and also searched down his pants looking for any type of narcotics, which evidently you did not find any. Is that you aware of his complaint?
I am aware of the complaint.
Okay, can you tell me, in your words, your involvement with the traffic stop?
I responded to back up Officer Rose on a traffic stop. During the course of the investigation, Officer Rose notified me that the car smelled like marijuana, and that was upon my initial arrival. Upon my contact with the driver, Mr. Marvin, I did detect a strong distinct odor of marijuana emitting from inside the vehicle. I inquired to Mr. Marvin if there was anything illegal inside the vehicle, such as drugs, and he informed me there was not. I asked him to step out of the vehicle, at which time I conducted a pat-down of his pockets, exterior portion. Mr. Marvin began to disobey my commands of keeping his hands on the vehicle. Became fidgety. For officer safety purposes, I didn't know what Mr. Marvin's, what his actions might have been. So for officer safety purposes, I detained him with handcuffs in order to properly conduct a pat down of his clothing. At which point, nothing was found inside outside his pockets or anything. I brought him back to my vehicle, at which time Officer Baez stayed present with him, and at which time Officer Rose and I began a search of the vehicle for the marijuana that we were smelling.
Okay, so when you're searching him, when you first take him out of the car, he basically says you're touching his, looking in his, and that's why he's flinching. Did you conduct a search under his, like manipulate his scrotum area outside the pants?
There was no manipulation. I just used my hands, went inside his pockets, did not touch any private area at the time because I was still, unaware where the possible drugs could have been, whether they're on him concealed or they're inside the vehicle. He was very close to the vehicle, and so I was smelling the marijuana, so I wasn't sure.
Now, your body cam footage, when it comes on, you're well into the search. How come, per policy, you didn't have your body cam on prior to arriving?
Sometimes I forget to turn it on right away.
Okay. So you search the vehicle, and during the search, you're discussing with Officer Rhodes about whether he could have put it down his pants. You believe it was down his pants, and you don't want to have to go in and get it. What were you referring to? It's
been my experience through the contact that I've had in the past encounters with several subjects. A lot of the time, the drugs and the illegal narcotics are not going to be in plain view. When you go up to a car and you smell weed, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to say, here, officer, here's the drugs. It takes investigation, and you have to go through, it's a process. Mm-hmm. So Officer Rhodes and I were just, conversating about where the drugs could possibly be. Because of how he acted when I went to do that pat down and that preliminary search, indicated to me that there may be something hidden in there. Because when I did go around his pockets, he began to flinch, which is why I had detained him. And past experiences, when people become fidgety like that and agitated and aggressive, a lot of the time they are hiding something. And that was my interpretation of it, that he was hiding something. And I was just confirming with Officer Rose that he also did smell the marijuana, and it was a possibility that it was on him, and it may not have been in the car. It was a strong possibility that was my interpretation, that through my experiences as a cop here in the Cocoa Police Department, the past 5 years, people that use drugs, people that know the streets and have contact with police and have arrest records like this guy, they know where to hide it, where we're not going to go.
Well, there's a reason why they hide it there.
Because most of the time we're not going to go there.
Well, most of the time you can't go there.
And most of the time we don't go there.
Right. So that's why they hide it there. So based on what you have here, what makes you go to the next level at this point?
The next level, based on my experiences in the past, enhanced it from the search of the car to the search of his pockets to checking underneath the undergarments.
Okay.
And then doing the hand sweep of the blade, using the blade of your hand to do the buttocks. Based on my experiences, if they're going to hide it there, that's how you would check. That's how you would check with the blade of your hand underneath the pants and the undergarments, because it'll be tucked. It'll be tucked in an area that you're not going to feel through just a search. You're not going to feel it there. It's going to be tucked. It's going to be tucked there. And you're going to you kind of got to go a little bit in there, and you got to extend a little bit just to make sure it's not there. I did not grope, fondle, or anything like that. It was
Well,
just
you
a
went
check.
in there a little bit further than a little bit. I mean, you can physically see you
I
moving his
undid his belt. I undid his belt.
penis to the side to get to the other side.
In
Right?
order
Right.
to feel it, in order to possibly locate something that I believed, based on my experiences, was there, and it wasn't, and that's when I used the blade in my hand to do his rear end, because that's oftentimes where they hide it also. Those two spots are very common, and if you look at my arrest record, you're going to see, when people clench, when they clench their buttocks, they're clenching for a reason. You just don't do that. When they clench it, they may be hiding stuff there. I've had arrests where things have been hidden there. I've had arrests where things have been hidden, in that private area in front. And that's just based on my experiences as a street level cop in the city of Cocoa, in my beat, which is Zone 1, which is heavily influenced with narcotics possessions and dealings.
Did you stick your finger in his rectum when you were searching?
No, sir.
Okay. So you feel that the search you conducted on Mr. Passawi was just, in your mind, looking for narcotics?
Based on the totality of the circumstances, I'm going to say I went a little too far.
Okay. A little too far, or?
Yeah, I believe I searching him. I didn't, when I look at it, it's marijuana. Really, I mean, to dig like that for marijuana. No, there doesn't have to be a reason for that.
So back to the traffic stop with Officer Rhodes. How many times have you conducted a traffic stop in that same manner, thought the drugs were there or smelled the drugs were there, and conducted the same type of search?
You referring to initially or the latter search?
The latter search. I mean, basically the strip search, if you will, because Officer Baez said he's been with you 4 times when you've done that, and he actually didn't even know it was a violation of policy until this incident, is what he testified to. Mm-hmm. So, did you do it those 4 times or more than 4 times?
All circumstances are different. It's not going to happen the same every time. One of them that Baez was on with me is, I brought the guy out of the car, went to searching him. I did the blade in my hand in his buttocks. He clinched up. He clinched hard. And then he started yelling and shouting. And then what I felt when I did the hand of my blade was something hard, and a hard object in there. And sure enough, he had a big bag of big bag of crack. I think it was maybe 15, 20 grams of crack cocaine. Passenger had the same exact thing. And I found that later. He had a warrant. And I found that later at the PD. He did the same exact thing. And he had time. So the circumstances are always different. Do they have time to do it? What's his arrest record like? How is he acting? These are all things that, as a street level cop, I've learned to realize and understand. And that's how their behavior and their actions is how I do my job. I go off of them.
But policy has restrictions on when you can do that and when you can't, not just what the atmosphere is at the time.
Okay.
On that note, were you aware of the agency's policy as it's written?
Probably not as clear cut as I should have been.
Did you read it? Because you signed for it. You signed for the policy back in 2017 for that specific policy with searches.
We agree, it's there, he signed off on it.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, July 10th, 2017. And are you aware of what the policy said in regards to strip searches is basically what you conducted?
I am now. It was my impression at the time it wasn't a strip search. When I think of strip search, I think of bringing him back to the PD, taking his clothes off when something is too far from my grasp. You know, if they hide something, it's not going to be too far from my grasp right away. And at the same time, you got to think about, well, if they put it in their anal cavity like that and it gets lodged up in there, it could be a health issue. You know?
Well, that's why we have procedures and policy for things like that. I mean, it goes on to cavity searches if we're concerned about something like that. But, I mean, the policy is there to protect you and the citizens of illegal searches.
Okay.
And perfectly in this situation, I get that other people, there was drugs found on him, but there was no drugs found on him.
But it wasn't a problem then. Why is it a problem now? Because I didn't find anything and because he made a complaint on me?
Well, it's because it's a violation of law and policy.
Then why wasn't this addressed when that was going on?
I don't know why it was addressed. I mean, this is the first that we've gotten a complaint about it.
Okay.
And, you know, put yourself in that. If that was your son or your daughter, and they just dropped off a friend who smoked marijuana in the car, and an officer pulls up, and they smell the marijuana, and they thinking what you're thinking, and they pull him out, and they search him the way you searched him in a parking lot with people walking around, how do you think you'd feel about the officer doing that to your child?
Well, this isn't my child. This wasn't, you know, this wasn't an upstanding citizen. This was a guy that smokes weed, that gets arrested for crack cocaine possession, that goes to jail, that comes and wants to get a good cop off the street and file a complaint. That's what this guy is. That's what this kind of person is.
Yeah, but we can't take somebody's past and use it against them for anything future. I mean, what if this guy has, you know, he found Jesus and he's come clean and he's trying to get his life
straight. So why does
straight.
he smell like weed now?
Maybe somebody was in the car.
Well, why didn't he say that? Did he say that during the investigation?
Well, he doesn't have to say it.
Well, then why wouldn't he dispel my fear? That, officer,
He doesn't have to say
I just dropped my friend off. He was just smoking weed. Maybe it wouldn't.
But he doesn't have to tell you that. Do you know what the Fifth Amendment is? Do you know what that is? It's a right to not incriminate yourself. So during a traffic stop, I don't have to say a word to you.
Okay. Well, he was saying how it was the black and mild smelling.
He didn't have to. What I'm saying is he didn't have to say a word.
Okay.
He didn't even have to talk to you. Here's my license, and that's the extent of it.
Okay.
And then you have to investigate the call.
And I did investigate it.
Right, but you're investigating it. You just testified that you investigated based on his past. You felt right, but you're investigating it. You just testified that you investigated based on his past. You felt like it was
just his past. It was everything going on. It wasn't just his past. I told you. It's the totality of the circumstance. It's not just people's past. It's their actions and behaviors while I'm on scene with them, during my contact with them, is how I go about my job. And I felt strongly that it was hidden inside his pants, somewhere and concealed, either under his private area or concealed in his buttocks. Based on my experiences as a cop here, that's where they hide the drugs, and that's why I did what I did.
And you feel it's justified to do that type of search to get the drugs?
For marijuana, no. For the smell of marijuana, no. Did I do too much? Was I trying to do too much because of maybe I didn't want this guy getting away with this? Yeah.
So what if you found crack in his ass? Is it justified?
If I found crack?
Yeah. Do you feel like it's justified for you to conduct that search if it was more than marijuana?
How is that I don't understand how using the blade of my hand on his buttock, I don't understand how that's a search.
Well, take the blade out. You stuck your hand in his privyour area,
right? And I told you that's where they hide it.
That's a violation of your.
Okay, so I admit to a violation.
Well, what I'm trying to get is your peace of mind when it comes to searching people, whether you think it's right or wrong, and if there's a line you cross. I think you see the means justify the ends if you are able to get the narcotics or the gun or whatever it is at the time. Mm-hmm. But there's laws that protect people in this country that prevent you from allowing you to do that without probable cause.
I feel like I had probable cause.
Just
Or at
because you
least
smelled marijuana.
Reasonable suspicion on his behavior, on his actions, his attitude.
But you can't go off of that.
That's what I went off of.
You smelled marijuana.
Yes.
And based on that marijuana smell, you felt like it was justified to strip search him in a parking lot.
I do not feel like I strip searched him.
Well, per our policy you did.
Per your
And actually our policy mimics state statute. So that same wording in our policy is taken straight from state statute.
I don't see how checking underneath his private area and then using the blade of my hand on his buttocks, I don't understand how that's a strip search. I don't.
Because it's not that you felt a gun and you were trying to do it for officer safety. You're smelling
It was
marijuana
I was looking for marijuana.
and it wasn't there.
Right. It wasn't there.
Right. So everything you did to this guy was not just.
Look at the video all day long. I know what happened. I know what happened there because I was there. And you guys can look at the video all day long and say this and say that. I know what truly happened. Was
Right.
that justified? I feel like it was. And it may not meet the mold of the policy here, but I feel like it was. And I've made arrests and I've found drugs. I found a lot of drugs doing that same method.
Do you know this gentleman could file a federal lawsuit against you for unlawful search and seizure? Are you aware of that?
I mean, you could sue anybody for anything these days, so.
Well,
If
he
wants-
has-
if he feels like he really needs to.
Well, I don't know.
Which, according to you, he hasn't done anything, and
Well-
a lot of people are all talk, right?
I get it.
Okay.
I'm just
And
making you aware
he's
of
just trying to
that.
get a good cop off the street, and you guys are entertaining it. At the end of the day, that's what it is.
Well, I have to entertain every complaint.
I know.
And to be honest with
That's
you,
why I even told him to go and file a
I heard
complaint.
you. Right.
That's why Byers told him, if you have a complaint, go file it. But if you listen to the video, he consents to whatever I'm going to do. Just get it over with so I can leave. If you listen to it, just go ahead.
but that doesn't make it okay.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue with you.
Well, I'm just trying to get your state of mind at the time.
My state of mind was he was hiding something, and this was probably the second time. And based on his history, based on his actions that day, based on the totality of the circumstance of everything going on, the heavy smell of weed that was inside the car, we took him out, then it was coming from him. I felt like it was concealed on his person based on my experiences in the past with the arrests that I've made and the contact that I've had with people.
Okay.
Soon after this interview, the officer resigned and his law enforcement licenses was revoked. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.